Get ready.
Wait. Okay.
Okay. Now this is the outer ear right here. It's made of a lobe and a helix. And this is called, what's the first word? Pinna?
Pinna, yeah.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. That's the word I use, pinna. This is called the, let me think about this for a second. Lobule, helix, tragus. Oh, this whole thing is called the pinna. Yeah, the whole thing's called the pinna. I had to think about that for a second. The whole thing's called the pinna. Then this is called the helix, right here. This is called the antihelix. And then in here's called the tragus. And this right here, I think is called, I forget now. And then your lobe, where you put your earring, is called the lobe, or lobule, some people call it. So you got lobe, helix. Is antihelix on your list?
No.
Just what's on your list?
Helix and lobe.
All right, so helix and lobe, and the whole thing's called the pinna. Helix, lobe, and pinna. That's your outer ear. Lobe, helix, pinna. What's next?
External auditory motor.
Okay, you guys probably remember this from BIO203. This is the external acoustic or auditory meatus, external acoustic meatus or external auditory meatus. By the way, that question's on your take-home, your online quiz, and I allowed either answer. If you say external acoustic meatus, it takes it. If you say external auditory meatus, it takes it. Makes you spell it correctly, though. Say again?
No, it's eye and ear.
Eye and ear. Lab quiz 5, eye and ear. What's next?
Tympanic membrane.
This is my tympanic membrane, my eardrum right here. Let me get it right there. Now this model allows me to take out my tympanic membrane. I can take it out. Let me leave it in there for now. Tympanic membrane. What's next?
Tensor tympani muscle.
Okay. I'm looking, just a second. There's a muscle right here, right there, that gray muscle. I'm going to tilt this up and show everybody that gray muscle. There's a muscle right here. The gray muscle called the tensor tympani muscle. What happens is there's 3 bones in there, the malleus, incus, and stapes. The malleus touches the eardrum. The incus is in the middle, and the stapes touches the oval window. There's 2 muscles that help me protect my inner ear. The tensor tympani muscle pulls the malleus away from the eardrum. Now think about that. It doesn't matter how loud the speakers are vibrating my eardrum. The malleus is pulled away from it. I'm not going to transmit that information into my inner ear. So the tensor tympani muscle pulls the malleus away from the eardrum.
That's the gray one.
And that's that gray one right there.
Okay.
That's the tensor tympani muscle. What's next?
Stapes muscle.
Okay, not on this model. I just looked. That's why. Let me show you the stapedius. Tympani muscle pulls the malleus away from the eardrum. That muscle on there, that little gray muscle, was hooked to the malleus. Tensor tympani. And then this one right here is called the stapedius that pulls the stapes away from the oval window. This bone is called the stapes. Malleus, incus, and stapes. Malleus, incus, and stapes. Tensor tympani, stapedius. The tensor tympani and stapedius muscles protect your hearing. This model only has this tensor tympani muscle. I don't see a stapedius muscle down on this stapes right here. But this is the malleus. This is the incus, and that's the stapes. Malleus, hammer, looks like a hammer, does it not? Malleus, incus, stapes.
What is incus supposed to be?
Anvil. You guys know what an anvil looks like? Blacksmith anvil? So this is an anvil. Hammer, anvil, stirrup. Oh, that's how you learned it in school probably, in high school. Hammer, anvil, stirrup. So malleus is hammer, incus is anvil, stapes is stirrup. Hammer, anvil, stirrup, malleus, incus, stapes. So let me step back here and show these
Sorry,
guys.
let me just get the other side of it. So that's the, what's that again?
Incus?
That's the incus. Okay.
Okay, so let me show these guys. So I got the malleus, incus, and stapes. The stapes looks like a stirrup on a horse saddle. Malleus, incus, and stapes. Hammer, anvil, stirrup. Let me come back here. What's next?
Auditory tube.
Okay, this eustachian tube right here runs to my throat. It's right here. Runs from my middle ear to my throat. It's called the auditory tube or eustachian tube. Right there. Goes through the foramen lacerum. You don't have to know that, do you? What's next?
Oval window.
Okay, now I can take off my eardrum and 2 of my 3 bones. I just took it off. I can take off my 3 semicircular canals, my vestibule, and my cochlea. That snail-looking thing is called the cochlea. The reason I took them off is because I can't really show you the oval window on any of these models. But I can tell you this, that right underneath that stapes, where that stapes is touching the vestibule, is the oval window. The oval window is right underneath that stapes. The oval window is right underneath that stapes right there. All right? So let me keep going forward. The oval window will be right underneath that stapes. Here's the stapes, looks like a stirrup. Oval window is right underneath it. Let me see if I have a better picture for you. Nope, that goes to the semicircular canals. So that's not it. Okay. What's next?
Cochlea and the vestibule.
Okay, this entire snail-looking thing is the cochlea. And then this fat part that these 3 semicircular canals are sitting on is called the vestibule. In fact, the oval window's in the vestibule. The oval window underneath the stapes is on the vestibule. The vestibule is this fat part right here. All right?
Sorry, it's not.
Okay. Right. The utricle and saccule. There are 2 spots in here. I'm looking for numbers here. The utricle is on top of the saccule. The utricle is closer to the semicircular canals, and the saccule is closer to the cochlea. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Look at this. My utricle is closer to my semicircular canals, and my saccule is closer to my cochlea. Utricle and saccule. On here, I'm thinking number 12 is trying to show you the utricle. Right there. Utricle. And I'm thinking number 11 is trying to show you the saccule. 12 and 11. For lack of them not labeling anything. I mean, they might actually be saying that. When you look at your key, if it says 11 or 12, it's called the vestibule. I don't disagree. The utricle and saccule are in the vestibule. But I think those 2 numbers are trying to show you the utricle and saccule. Because I can't think of what else they're trying to show you. And I think 13 is pointing to the oval window underneath the stapes. That's what I think. All right, what's next?
The semicircular canals and your posterior.
Right. Now, I will never have this out of the ear. And ask. I mean, I might have this out of the ear, but I'll never make you name these 3 semicircular canals when it's out of the ear, because I would have a hard time doing it, so I can't expect you guys to do it. So I'll put this back in the ear. It's not bad when it's in the ear. What's the first one? Superior?
Anterior, superior.
Okay, anterior. If you look at these 3 semicircular canals, I have this one that's the most lateral, this one that's posterior, and this one that is anterior but also is higher, so we call it superior. So this one right here is called the anterior or superior. Right there. Okay? Then what's next?
The posterior.
Here's the posterior one in the back, and here's the lateral one out towards my ear. So superior, lateral, posterior. Sometimes the superior is called anterior. You might say to me, but the lateral one actually protrudes a little bit further forward. Well, you can't call that lateral one medial. I mean, you have no other names. So I actually say superior, lateral, and posterior, but some people call that superior one anterior. Okay? And there's another model where they actually look a little better. Oh, let me show the rest of the class, though. I got it on video for you guys. But so anterior or superior, lateral. I mean, out here's lateral. This is the ear. Lateral and posterior. The most rear one. Posterior, superior, lateral. All right, bony ampulla. This entire white stuff is the bony. Is the bony ampulla. All of it. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I take that back. I take that back. I know what they're trying to tell me now. This is a tube within a tube body plan. It's a tube within a tube. The outer tube is made of bone. It's called the bony labyrinth. The inner tube, so this outer tube right here is made of bone. It's called the bony labyrinth. This inner tube in here, the blue inner tube, is called the membranous labyrinth. It's a tube within a tube. See how this is a tube within a tube? So I have the bony labyrinth and I have the membranous labyrinth. Now what this is saying, what your list is saying is, what about these bulges right at the bottom of my semicircular canals? I'll put it back in here. What about these bulges at the bottom of my semicircular canals? Those bulges are called ampulla. That means the junction between the semicircular canals and the vestibule are called ampulla. Look at these bulges. This is an ampulla. This is an ampulla. This is an ampulla. See these bulges? The bulges are where the semicircular canals meet the vestibule. The vestibule is this entire fat part. So on my model, I can look at these ampulla and I can say this is the anterior bony ampulla. This is the posterior bony ampulla. And actually, do I have a lateral bony ampulla? Then it has to be this one right here. This one and this one, because that's most lateral.
Will you just
Yep.
to it one more time?
Anterior bony ampulla. Posterior bony ampulla. Lateral bony ampulla. They're the same names as the semicircular canals.
So is it where the canal connects to the rest of
It's where the canal connects to the vestibule. So that's a bony ampulla, that's a bony ampulla, that's a bony ampulla.
Okay.
These two are bony ampullas.
Okay.
So the bony ampullas are actually named just like the semicircular canals. Go ahead.
Wait, I better